Hello everyone and welcome back to the SteemTrail Gaming News. Today is the 27th of February 2018. My name is Kralizec and I will be your host for this evening. Today we got 4 interesting news topics for you guys. 3 of them, well, they're classical gaming news. One of them is slightly off topic, but I still think you guys will appreciate it. So first of all, we're going to talk about the fact that ESRB is going to add a new label on boxes of video games to address microtransactions. Secondly, we're going to take a look at the fact that one of the developers of Call of Duty, just the guy who is now in the lead of Sledgehammer, has issued a little bit of a message to Call of Duty fans. Thirdly, we're going to talk about a Copycat who has appeared on Steam. And last of all, we're going to take a look at the Witcher series that is going to come soon to Netflix. But let's begin with the ESRB rating for loot boxes. So this is pretty much still the continuance of the controversy that was started by Battlefront 2 and the microtransactions they had in their game, and the fact that they used loot boxes to access pay-to-win features in the game. That sort of sparked a giant controversy against loot boxes in general, which, well, I'm very glad that it finally happened, because loot boxes are just fucking awful, guys. They're just horrible, and nobody ever should ever buy loot boxes. They're just fucking crap and gambling. So, there were a few governors, some senators, some representatives who have all started working on bills to limit the sales of loot boxes, more likely to limit the sales, especially to minors, as that is the most threatened group by loot boxes. And one of them sent a letter to ESRB, which is the rating board responsible for rating to which audience video games should be available to. And they are now decided to introduce a new label that is going to say in-game purchases as a response to this. And I'm going to say this label is shit. Because the label doesn't address loot boxes, it addresses all in-game microtransactions. So I have the full statement from ESRB here, so let me read it to you guys. You may have noticed that we've been a little quiet on the topic of in-game purchases and loot boxes, but we've been listening. In fact, we've absorbed every tweet, email, Facebook post, and seen telegrams sent our way, and we've been working to develop a sensible approach to let gamers and parents know when a game offers the option to purchase additional content. Starting soon, ESRB will begin assigning a brand new label to physical games, in-game purchases. This label, or as we call it, interactive element, that's dumb, will appear on boxes and wherever those games can be downloaded for all games that offer the ability to purchase digital goods on premiums with real-world currency. These include features like bonus levels, skins, surprise items such as item packs, loot boxes, mystery rewards, music, virtual coins, and other forms of in-game currency, subscriptions, season passes, upgrades, like things like to disable ads, and more. We're also launching a new website, parentaltools.org, to help raise awareness of the helpful tools that parents can use to manage the amount of time or money those crafty kids spend playing games. This is the first step of many. We'll continue to discuss how further enhance our rating system with publishers, developers, gamers, and especially parents, and we'll continue to make adjustments as the need arises. Thank you all for all your patience on this and your love for the games we rate. So this particular label is shit, as I said, because it doesn't address the real problem. It doesn't address the fact that there are still loot boxes in the game, and this label will not tell you whether it's just microtransactions for which you can directly buy the items you desire, or whether it's the gambling system the gaming industry has invented so they can make more money and make it very enticing to spend that money. Because that is the reason why companies use loot boxes. Loot boxes, their psychological design is to make you want to buy more and more and more, because you're always going to be like, maybe next time I'll get the thing I want. And that's a psychological effect that is also employed by things like slot machines. You know, it's one more spin and maybe I will get the jackpot. But most likely you won't. Nor the jackpot on the slot machine, and nor the item you desire from a loot box. My only hope at this point is that they will realize that this thing just isn't enough, and they will actually start a few different labels. One of them would say things like basic microtransactions. Another one will say extreme microtransactions. Another one will say loot boxes. One will say microtransactions that are pay to win. That would be a solution I would actually be good with, because the role of ESRB is not to actually ban loot boxes. That's just not within their competence at all. I don't even think they would be allowed to do that in any capacity. Their role is to warn people who buy games. And on itself, this label just doesn't do enough. You know, if you just look, yeah, this game has microtransactions. Yeah, that tells me a lot. I don't know whether the microtransaction system is decent, whether it's complete crap, or whether it's actually a fair microtransaction system, because believe it or not, there are actually ways to do microtransactions fair. It does take a lot of work, and you will probably not make as much money as you would if you made a crappy microtransaction system, but in the end, it will actually make the players more happy, willing to stick with your game longer, and if they are playing longer, there's a higher chance they will actually buy content from you. And loot boxes are essentially there for so-called whales, which is a term cryptocurrency people will be very well accustomed to. But in the gaming world, these are not people who have the majority of something. These are just the people who spend the most freaking money. And trying to profit off of whales, I don't think is a reasonable solution in the long run, as these whales usually just like to get the best in a certain game and then they quickly move to another. But trying to make some money out of casual players who will be willing to stick with your game potentially for years to come is the way to go. So ESRB, I hope you will make actually a rating system that somewhat mirrors the fact of which microtransaction system is used in a particular game. Okay, let's move on to the second piece of news for today. So Sledgehammer, one of the creators of Call of Duty games, more specifically right now the last one, Call of Duty World War II, or games like Call of Duty Advanced Warfare or Modern Warfare 3, they have a new CEO, new leader, because their two previous leaders decided to move on in the corporate ladder and now working at their new positions in Activision, the parent company of Sledgehammer. And some fans of the Call of Duty series have been slightly worried because of this, and the new leader of Sledgehammer, Aaron Hallen, has decided to release a public statement so the fans can calm down a little bit. So let me read his letter. Thank you from everyone here at Sledgehammer Games. This is an incredible time for the studio as Glenn and Michael begin a new chapter in their careers. I'm humbled by this opportunity to lead this amazing team of developers. Over the years, I've worn many hats here at the studio which has allowed me to work side by side with some of the best talents in the business. As a Call of Duty development studio, we have always been grateful for the chance to make games for the greatest fans in the world. Simply put, there's nothing else like the Call of Duty community, and I'm committed to staying focused on our fans as we continue to support Call of Duty World War II well into the future. You're our inspiration and motivation. I thank Glenn and Michael for their support and their mentorship along the way. As great as our history has been at Sledgehammer Games, I feel we can go even higher, and that our best days are yet to come. Thank you. Yours truly, Aaron Hallen. So I gotta say, this is actually a nice thing from him to do. I really like his, well, what's it called? I guess hands-on approach, where he actually decided to he actually took responsibility. You know, even though it doesn't seem like much, he just sent out his letter that doesn't really say much. It still shows that he is actually dedicated to work with the fan base. And even though I'm not a Call of Duty player or a fan myself, the games just seemed your run-of-the-mill shooters, and while certainly not bad games, they're just not my cup of tea. I really appreciate him doing this. It shows that he actually values the opinions of the gamers, and that's a thing we desperately need in our community, even more than we have it currently. Okay, let's move on to the third piece of news, which is about a copycat who has appeared on Steam. So, I don't think these are really games many people will know, unless you're a fan of the genre. So, there's this game called Death Trash, and his developer has been accusing a copycat for, well, being slightly copyish. So there's a game called Fucktopia, and it's being accused of plagiarizing Death Trash description and borrowing its title from one of the locations in Death Trash. So, if anybody's interested, Death Trash is a sort of RPG set in a very post-apocalyptic wasteland, and it happens to have a city called Fucktopia inside. And Fucktopia is a 2D fighting game which has, well, to say the least, been inspired in its art style by Death Trash. And, well, the descriptions, well, let me actually read them side by side. It is pretty obvious that they have been somewhat inspired. So first, here's the description of Death Trash. Death Trash is a modern, post-apocalyptic role-playing game with influences of cyberpunk, science fiction, horror, and the grotesque and trash talk humor. It features a world full of dialogue and interesting characters, item crafting, and real-time combat. Player freedom is emphasized, and combat is not the only way to survive. Inspired by role-playing classics as Ultima 7. Now, Fucktopia. Fucktopia is a modern post-apocalyptic beat-em-up game with influences of cyberpunk, science fiction horror, the grotesque, and trash humor. It features a place full of action and interesting characters, special abilities, and real-time combat. Use side powers and special items to survive in this hostile wasteland. Yeah, this was obviously like almost ripped off, and just few words have been changed here and there, and some words have been put out, and maybe some words have been put in. I don't know if it is if it would go well in a court of law. I think they would be probably capable of getting away from it with it. The bigger question is actually the name Fucktopia, because of the fact that it is obviously set in, at the very least, a similar universe, if not the same, and they have the same name as the city in Death Trash. That's a bad thing, obviously. And the developers of Death Trash are now asking Fucktopia to change their name, and I actually hope they do. It's going to probably bring a lot of attention to both of the games. I might actually take a look at Fucktopia, as it came out yesterday, and it actually looks like a game I might enjoy. But still, you shouldn't do this. Really, it's just a bad thing. Okay, and now let's take a look at our last piece of news, which is about the Witcher Netflix series that is going to be coming out pretty soon. So, as far as we know, the first draft of the pilot is now written, and we can expect some pretty well-known characters to take an appearance, and this is what the news is about. We're going to talk just quickly about some of the characters we can expect. So obviously there's Geralt, Yennefer, Triss, Ciri, and Dandelion. All characters that we can also find in books, and if you haven't read the books and you like Witcher 3 or even the previous Witcher titles, I highly recommend you pick up the books. The books are quite amazing. They're very well written. Andrzej Sapkowski is a great literary writer, and I honestly like his books very much. So that's the reason I'm talking about this. there's really not that much else to say about this, but I'm just looking forward to it. I love Witcher, and even though there is actually a Witcher series that was being produced by some Polish television, I think it was maybe even the state television, that one wasn't so great. It like wasn't shit tier, but it wasn't so great. And with that being said, that's going to be it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please consider giving us a thumbs up here on YouTube and subscribing to our channel. If you are by chance watching this on Steam, maybe you want to give us an upvote and follow our blog. Be also sure to leave a comment and to tune in tomorrow for more gaming news, as we are your daily source of them every single day. See you guys later with more gaming content.